Ahead of the new school year, which starts tomorrow, Albuquerque Public Schools leaders address concerns including potential air conditioning issues, campus safety, and the possibility of immigration and customs enforcement coming on to campus. A judge has ordered that John Fuentes remain in custody as he awaits his trial for first-degree murder and other charges stemming from a fatal shooting at a UNM dorm on July 25th. A medical transport plane crashed and caught fire Tuesday afternoon near the Chinle Airport on the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona. McKinley County District Attorney Bernadine Martin held a tense news conference Tuesday in Gallup, attempting to rally support amid a funding crisis that could shutter her office by August 12th. And the University of New Mexico Hospital has completed its construction on its long-awaited critical care tower, which is a major expansion aimed at relieving overcrowding and boosting care for the state's sickest patients. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Wednesday, August 6th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is sponsored by the Kirtland Partnership Committee, your community partners supporting the powerful missions based at Kirtland Air Force Base. From the 377th Air Base Wing and 58th Special Operations Wing to AFRL, Space Force, NNSA, and Sandia National Labs, Kirtland is a national asset with global impact, and it's all happening right in your backyard. Learn how KPC helps grow missions and support the people behind them at kpcabq.org.
As Albuquerque Public Schools prepares to welcome back students for the first day of school tomorrow, district leaders held a press conference on Tuesday to discuss a myriad of issues from air conditioning all the way down to possible ICE enforcement. To help educate us on all the changes that students and their families can expect as they enter this new school year, I'm now joined by the Journal's education reporter, Noah Kalabach. Noah, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gino.
So Noah, with the school year now on the horizon, APS held this press conference to kind of give us a little bit of an insight into some changes they're making coming into this school year. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of exactly what they discussed?
Yeah, so classes for most students are going to begin on Thursday. Really, there's some key things the district is trying to address head on going into the new year. You know, I'm sure people see the headlines every September or August that swamp coolers or cooling systems are not working well at APS schools. And we've written about it in the past, but we talked about it again with district leaders today. They've implemented this kind of strategy where they keep these coolers on during the summer so that they don't have to do a full reboot come August. And they seem confident that the cooling systems will perform as well as they possibly can. And it's worth noting a little under 30% of the district is using non-evaporative cooling technologies. So a lot of these, especially the older schools, have swamp coolers in them. And as you know, as many of our readers and listeners know, that is not the most effective form of cooling, especially with super hot rising temperatures.
And Noah, obviously safety, another area of concern for APS as well, especially given a story that you covered over the weekend, discussing how many students have actually been caught with guns on campus over the past couple years. How exactly is the district looking to improve on that?
Yeah, over the last 2 school years, there's been 15 guns found on campuses each year, and then there were 17 the year before that. So it's been an issue. Now, it's not out of line with national trends. You know, as I mentioned in my Sunday piece, the Washington Post did an investigation and found that since the pandemic, there's been a lot more guns making their ways onto school campuses. The district is really banking on the see something, say something. They've, kind of touted these new badges they have that have panic buttons on them. They also have a lot of cameras. They're really banking on the infrastructure and also these crime reporting techniques and mechanisms that they have at their disposal. So they are hoping that students report if there are guns on campus, that students report them quickly. And if students don't report them, that maybe the cameras will catch them, or maybe, they've at least implemented enough strategies that students don't decide to bring them to campus. I think there's another interesting thing that APS has done, and they've built this integrated support team that works alongside their other departments, and they look for students that might be struggling, that might be in a situation where they're more likely to bring guns to campus, and they try to work with those kids through providing mental health services and trying to make it feel like it's a place where they can talk to them and also discourage behaviors such as bringing a firearm to school.
And Noah, one of the parts of your story that was really interesting is that APS was discussing possible ICE enforcement coming into this school year. Obviously, immigration enforcement is something we've seen pick up across the country since President Trump took office in January. What exactly did the district say on that topic?
Well, they pretty much said they have a procedure in place if immigration agents come to schools. And that is that they provide the paperwork, but if these federal agents do produce paperwork concerning a student that might be undocumented, their next steps are to call for school administrators to call the police department, and the police department takes contact with the legal team for the district. They make contact with, the superintendent. It is worth noting that we haven't seen ICE show up at APS schools, at least according to their police chief. So they do have procedures and plans in place, but we haven't seen it yet happen.
But one issue, Noah, we have heard a lot about is chronic absenteeism, and that's something that the district has been harping on over the past couple years, especially given the negative effects it's having on students. Are there any new programs or plans in place that APS is looking to implement this year that might combat that?
Yeah, it's kind of the same strategies they touted last year. It's early warning systems, trying to address the issues head on when they see a student's missing class. There's also people who read our Sunday paper will see that Dr. Blakey wrote an op-ed in the paper encouraging kids to show up to school. So they're really just banking on really asking for a lot of community involvement and for people to bring their kids to school. And their messaging has been, hey, we need all of you to do this. We need kids in the class if they're going to learn.
And no, I'm sure everybody at APS really excited to get this new school year started. I'm sure parents excited as well, maybe even some students maybe. But what exactly is the district's messaging to students and their families as they re-enter the classroom for this upcoming academic year?
I think it goes back on chronic absenteeism. It is show up to class. But something that the superintendent of operations has said repeatedly, Mr. Antonio Gonzalez, there's nowhere safer in the city than schools. He's really said it multiple times today during the news conference. It's the safest place for kids to be. So I think just encouraging kids to show up to class, parents to bring their kids to school, and just trying to reaffirm to them that these campuses are safe spaces, even with some of the issues the district has seen, such as cooling, guns, things of that nature.
So some exciting times as students prepare to head back to the classroom for the 2025-2026 school year. Noah, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing the latest with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gino.
In other headlines from the newsroom, a judge has ordered John Fuentes to remain in custody as he awaits trial for first-degree murder and other charges stemming from a fatal shooting at a University of New Mexico dorm on July 25th. Prosecutors say Fuentes fatally shot 14-year-old Michael Lamont in the head and grazed another teen, Daniel Archuleta, during a drug-fueled gathering. The group, which was comprised of Fuentes, Lamont, Archuleta, and Lamont's older brother Zion Mera, 19, were using LSD, cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol in Archuleta's dorm room when the shooting occurred. That's according to Assistant District Attorney John Kloss. Police say Fuentes brought a stolen Glock 9mm handgun onto campus, which was later found abandoned with blood and clothes on a UNM rooftop. He allegedly fled after the shooting, broke windows on a campus building, and called his father during a drug-induced panic. His mother later called 911 reporting he was hallucinating and couldn't breathe. He was arrested that afternoon in Los Lunas. At Tuesday's hearing, Fuentes' attorney argued that there were still too many unanswered questions, including whether Fuentes was the actual shooter and whether other witness accounts were reliable, as all involved were heavily intoxicated. He also claimed Fuentes' police interview may have been illegal due to his impaired state at the time. Security footage showed Fuentes arriving at the dorm with the group around 10:20 p.m. Mera reportedly told police that Fuentes, acting erratically, suddenly shot Lamont and fired at Archuleta. The two surviving teens fled and were later treated. Lamont died at the scene. The case is further complicated by a web of family dysfunction and a history of firearms being traded among the group, including weapons allegedly obtained through Telegram. Fuentes, who had previously had a juvenile DWI, was driving a vehicle with an interlock device the night of the shooting. Judge Joseph Montano ruled that Fuentes posed a high danger to the community, citing a mix of drugs, a stolen weapon, and a deadly outcome. The investigation into the shooting is still ongoing. A Beechcraft King Air 300 medical transport plane crashed and caught fire Tuesday afternoon near the Chinle Airport on the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona, killing all 4 people on board. The aircraft, operated by CSI Aviation, had departed from Albuquerque and was en route to pick up a patient needing critical care from the Indian Health Services Hospital in Chinle. The victims included 2 pilots and 2 healthcare providers whose names have not yet been released. According to Navajo authorities, the plane was attempting to land when it crashed just before 12:45 p.m., sending up black smoke visible near the airport. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the cause. Navajo Nation President Boo Nygren called the event, quote, heartbreaking, noting the deep loss felt across the reservation for professionals who devoted their lives to helping others. CSI Aviation expressed its condolences and is cooperating with the investigators. Air medical transport is a lifeline across the 27,000 square mile Navajo Nation, where local hospitals often lacked advanced trauma care. The Chinle Airport is one of several tribal-operated airfields serving remote communities across Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. The crash follows another fatal medical flight incident in January in Philadelphia that killed 8 people. That investigation revealed the aircraft's voice recorder was not functioning. McKinley County District Attorney Bernadine Martin held a tense news conference Tuesday in Gallup, attempting to rally public support amid a funding crisis that could shutter her office by August 12th. With one contract attorney already working without pay and no staff attorneys remaining, Martin admitted her office is currently on the brink. The crisis began after the New Mexico legislature redirected funding for her DA's office to the neighboring San Juan District Attorney Jack Fortner. That move was a part of this year's $10.8 billion budget. Lawmakers, citing concerns over mismanagement, shifted the money during the 60-day legislative session. Martin and Fortner have been unable to agree on how to share responsibilities under this unusual setup, with a mediation hearing scheduled for next week. During the press conference, Martin defended her leadership, insisting her office is still moving cases forward. However, she acknowledged that 7 domestic violence cases were dismissed recently due to a scheduling conflict. She also shared that her office is now currently without any staff attorneys. She says she's been using her own salary to pay her employees in recent weeks. Community members and crime victims' families expressed frustration at the event, with local business owner Landon Tosi blaming Martin for losing funding and running off her staff. While Jerry Hubanks, another Gallup business owner, said of Martin that she has, quote, no trust in her whatsoever. State Senator George Munoz, a key architect in the defunding and chair of the Senate Finance Committee, also attended the press conference. He stood by the legislature's decision, stating that he had been approached by judges and the chief public defender with complaints about Martin's management. He also dismissed Martin's suggestion that race played a part in the funding cut, calling it, quote, about justice, not race. Martin is the first female Navajo district attorney in New Mexico and was re-elected in 2022. She continues to fight the funding decision in court, despite the state Supreme Court rejecting her petition last month. Another case is still pending in the 1st Judicial District. Data shows that in 2023, 2,750 criminal cases were dismissed in McKinley County, about 69% of all charges disposed of that year. While Martin claims stability in dismissal rates since taking office in 2021, critics see it as a sign of dysfunction. Attorney General Raul Torres has opened an investigation that could lead to Martin's removal from office, though no timeline has been set. And the University of New Mexico Hospital has completed construction of its long-awaited critical care tower, a major expansion aimed at relieving overcrowding and boosting care for the state's sickest patients. The 9-story, $842 million facility is set to open for patients on October 5th. Originally planned for a 2024 opening with a projected cost of $700 million, the project was delayed by about a year and came in over budget, largely due to global supply chain disruptions and rising material costs. Despite the setbacks, UNM Health Sciences COO Michael Ciccarelli says the facility is a game changer. Key additions include 24 new ICU beds, a new adult emergency department, 2 additional operating rooms, expanded MRI and CT imaging capabilities, and 400 new staff positions that will be filled. Recruiting for those positions is currently underway, and Ciccarelli says that UNMH is, quote, on a pretty good trajectory despite the state's ongoing healthcare worker shortage. The expansion comes at a critical time, as New Mexico has the oldest physician workforce in the country, with nearly 40% of doctors over the age of 60, faces a projected shortage of over 2,000 doctors, and has a physician-to-patient ratio of 16% below the national average. UNMH, the state's only level 1 trauma center, regularly operates at 105 to 120% capacity, according to spokesperson Brianna Mortensen. Long wait times are common, and the new tower is expected to help absorb some of that demand. Funded through a mix of hospital funds, a government-backed mortgage, and state bonds, the tower marks one of the largest health infrastructure investments in New Mexico's history. Staff are currently preparing to transition operations ahead of the October launch. The Leading News is powered by the journalism of the Albuquerque Journal. If you enjoy hearing all of the stories we share with you here daily, please consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Journal by utilizing the discount code in our show notes. Every subscription helps support local journalism and allows us to provide you with the news that matters to you. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Widespread haze is expected today before 12 p.m., sunny with a high near 101. As for this evening, scattered sprinkles are expected before midnight, mostly cloudy with a low around 71. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. That's the Leading News. I'm Gino Gutierrez. We'll be back tomorrow.